So day 2 of the MLS is Back tournament have just concluded, and I think the lesson that I've learned from these first 2 days of the MLS is Back tournament is don't have high expectation that these first few games is going to be very exciting, and that the first half is going to be a very slow paced kind of game. And the other lesson I learned is never watch the Twitter stream whenever a game is going to be on 2DN and on Twitter, because as I said in the regular season, I do not like the Twitter stream whatsoever because the quality is very bad and the commentator is very annoying. But boy, when I watched the Twitter stream tonight, it just took a new level of suckage, and that I think by the 25th minute of this game between the Impact and New England, I literally decided to just find a TSN stream because I was just so upset of what I was witnessing in the Twitter stream, which of course we'll get to why that is the case. But first of all, let's talk about the morning kickoff between NYCFC versus the Union. And it's just such a shame, the fact that this is a morning kickoff, because I would have really looked forward to watch this game. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to, and I only saw the condensed version of this game. But in the end, it was the Union that was able to get a huge 1-0 win over NYCFC. And I really think this was the Andre Blake show. I mean, Blake absolutely stole this 3 points for the Union, as NYCFC was just pretty much by far the better side in this game. Now, a little bit background before we start this game. Obviously, the players take a knee before the beginning of this game as part of the whole Black Lives Matters movement, and the Union actually did something even a little bit more special, where a lot of those Union players wasn't actually wearing their name in the back of their shirt, but instead they're actually wear names of the people that unfortunately was tragically killed by the police. And I thought that was a very classy act that the Union did there. And I know there's going to be some people that's going to easily make that into a political statement, but at the end of the day, I love what they of course do that, and it's great to see teams that not only is acknowledging this whole Black Lives Matter movement, but they're taking an extra steps in terms of taking action to how to raise awareness of this situation that we're dealing with right now. But in the first half, like yesterday, there was very little chance early, and the game was very cagey. The first chance came in the 18th minute when Castor Shabelko caught a volley that went straight in the hands of Sean Johnson. He didn't really kind of caught that volley very well, and Sean Johnson easily caught that ball. And then in the 38th minute, that's when NYCFC had their first chance. And again, their first chance wasn't really a big chance either, as his header was actually saved by Andre Blake in their near post. And that, any goalkeeper, when you decided to, of course trying to deal with a header from the near post, most of the time they, of course, would deal with it. And especially in this instant, Castellano didn't really put any pace on the header whatsoever. So we had to have time scoreless, and that there wasn't really much that had happened. But the second half, this is when things started to happen, and this is when NYCFC started to show their dominance, and this is also when the Andre Blake show begins. In the 47th minute, Castellano had a point-blank effort that was brilliantly saved by Andre Blake. There was also times during this game that the audio was silenced to blur out the profanity used by players on the pitch. I only saw this doing the condensed version. I'm not quite sure they do it on ESPN and in the live broadcast. NYCFC by far looked like they were the better team and had a lot of the chances, but it would be the Union, the one that would take the lead in this second half, as in the 63rd minute, Alejandro Bedoya was able to score what later turns out to be the winning goal of this game to give the Union a 1-0 lead. And I wrote Sean Johnson probably could have done better with this, and kind of want to have this one back, because the shot that Bedoya generate, it wasn't really hit with a lot of power, and that, yes, Johnson did get a hand to it, but I feel like he could have done better to kind of pair that one out instead of just getting into hand with it and trigger into the back of it like that instant. But either way, the Union, of course, were up 1-0, and it was kind of a little bit against the run of play. And then NYCFC, they continued their dominance. And late in the game, Andre Blake, this is why I said that this was really his showing that he really stole this 3 points, because NYCFC had some big chance in the latter part of the game. First of all, he robbed Aber with a spectacular save as Aber hits a shot with pace near the near post that Blake, of course, was able to save. And then right before the end of this game and deep into stoppage time, Mackay Stevens actually went through on goal, and he was one-on-one with Blake, but Blake did a great job to make himself as big as possible and deny him to preserve this 1-0 lead for the Union. And eventually that was the final score of this game, as the Union, again, big 3 points in this game. And in terms of shots in this game, which, by the way, I forgot to do this in yesterday's review between Inter Miami versus Orlando City to talk about the stats. It shows that NYCFC had 17 shots compared to 8 that the Union has, 7 shots on goal compared to 4 the Union has, 6 shots off target compared to 2 that the Union has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Union has, and NYCFC had 60% possession compared to 40% possession that the Union has. And despite the fact that NYCFC dominate pretty much everything in terms of the stats, because of the fact that Andre Blake decided to stood on his head in this game and make some incredible save, and that NYCFC wasn't showing their clinical finishing, that's why the Union was able to walk out with a huge 3 points. And as I've said before, I really think the Union now could be in a good spot where they can actually finish top, because I said before, this could be the game that could determine who exactly is going to finish the top spot in Group A. Now, moving on, in terms of the nightcap game between the Montreal Impact and New England, it was the Revs, of course, winning 1-0, but I have a feeling they clearly should have won this one more than the 1-0 victory as they got. I actually missed the first 2 minutes of this game due to problem with the Twitter stream. Again, I mean, I already said earlier in this video of how mad I was with the Twitter stream. Like, for whatever reason, it just didn't load for the first 2 minutes. And by the time I actually get it working, there was already 2.5 minutes gone in this game. And I didn't know what actually happened in the first 2 minutes of this game. And then in the 15th minute, they decided to pump in some fake crowd noise. Now, I heard that 2DN originally decided to do this right from the get-go, and I just feel like that is probably a bad idea, and a lot of people hate it. But once they decided to pump it into the Twitter stream, boy oh boy, I understand now why people really hate it, because not only the fake crowd noise was kind of a little bit cringy, but it was so loud that I couldn't really hear the commentator whatsoever, which I guess maybe that's kind of a blessing in disguise, because, you know, I didn't really like the commentator and how they commentate in this game, and at least the crowd noise kind of blocks that. But at the same time, it just kind of ruins the vibe of this game, and that eventually I kind of had to switch to a different stream, and I started actually watching the TSN stream 25 minutes into this game. Now, before that, in the 18th minute, Clement Diop absolutely robbed Carlos Hill as he had the first big chance of the game. The Revs were by far the better chance, and they had a couple really decent chances to potentially get the first goal in this game. For example, in the 34th minute, Pineda just dragged his shot to the right of the post as he was running toward the left side. And then Diop almost commit a goalkeeping howler when he decided to come off his line, completely missed the ball, and I think it was Carlos Hill that was trying to chip the goalkeeper, but he completely got it wrong. And that, I mean, I was kind of shocked, the fact that Montreal did not go down in the game, and that if you're a Revs fan, that has to be very infuriating, that the way that they just dominate throughout that first half, and yet the scoreboard still showed 0-0, and that they pretty much didn't show any kind of goal scoring to be able to capitalize that dominance. Now, in the second half, Montreal kind of woke up a little bit, and that I have a feeling whatever Thierry Henry said at halftime clearly fired up his squad, because they really looked like the better team coming out of halftime. And it showed in the 49th minute when Urruti was denied by Matt Turner, who I thought he had a very good game, and he probably had a couple of saves that could rival some of the saves that Andre Blake did in this morning game, because both of these guys performed very well and made some spectacular save that could be right up there as the save of the tournament. But eventually the Revs did get that first goal, and it would be the Panther Gustavo Bo scores from Carlos Hill to finally give them a well-deserved 1-0 lead. And from then on, you know, as soon as the refs got that first goal, it looked like they can smell blood. And the fact that they regained that dominance that they had throughout the first half, and that Montreal just looked absolutely clueless in terms of going for on the attack. Like, there was times where they just get pinned back in their own half, and also the final third, like, there was just no connection whatsoever in the final third whatsoever, and that final ball was just non-existent for Montreal in this game. The refs, of course, as they continue to dominate, they looked like they were trying to put the game away, and that Gustavo Bo could have had his second goal of this game, but unfortunately he just dragged his shot wide. And then the Twitter stream. So you know how I even though I wasn't really watching the Twitter stream, I did kind of checked out to see how it was doing, because the TSN stream, which by the way, it was technically kind of an illegal stream because I don't have TSN here where I live, kind of started to buffer a little bit, so I just kind of want to check out the Twitter stream to see how it goes. And then in the 94th minute, for whatever reason, it just decided to quit. Like, I have no idea why exactly did they decide to quit right into the 94th minute, and they are probably very lucky. The fact that literally a minute after the stream went down, in the 95th minute, Turner made an absolute incredible save, probably one of the best, if not the best save we have seen in this tournament, to absolutely deny Bala Tablet there to give the Impact the equalizer. And in the end, that of course was the final score of this game, as the refs were able to win 1-0 in this game, and that you could kind of say they kind of hang on for dear life in the end, but they was just so dominant throughout the game that you kind of also don't I kind of don't want to say they kind of hanged on in this one with the way that they dominate in this one. And it kind of showed on the stat line in terms of the shots, as they had 19 shots compared to 7 that the Impact had, 4 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Impact had, 16 shots off target, or actually 10 shots off target compared to 2 that the Impact had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that the Impact had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession the refs had. But in the end, you know, the refs, of course, were able to get this win. And I guess the only thing that Bruce Arena will be a little bit disappointed in this game is that they didn't put this game away. Like, you know, if that tablet shot in the 95th minute would have went in, then I'm pretty sure Bruce Arena will not be happy with the way that they drop points in this game, despite the fact that they look so dominant throughout this match. But either way, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of today's game. Obviously, I will be back tomorrow, where tomorrow is when my Quakes team play against the Sounders, and I'm going to have pretty much no expectation whatsoever with the Quakes, and that I would be shocked if they were able to get maybe a point or all 3 points in the game. But you never know. You know, since, as I mentioned, throughout these first two days of the tournament, it's clearly shown that players currently are very rusted. Whether if you're a team that has good quality or not, you know, those kind of quality hasn't really shown very well in these first 2 days. So maybe the Quakes might be able to scrap a 0-0 draw tomorrow against the Sounders, or they might be the first team to be a complete laughing stock, and that they're just going to get absolutely destroyed by the Sounders. But we shall see how tomorrow's game is going to take place. And remember, tomorrow's game is actually going to be kicking off at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, instead of 10:30 p.m. Eastern and 7:30 p.m. Pacific as it originally was. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.